Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Ian Sams is probably not a face you recognize. Sams is the White House spokesman for oversight and investigations. He's right there on the right. Basically, he's Joe Biden's scandal guy. And Sams is going to be very busy for the remainder of this presidency, I'd say. Today, Ian Sams made a very bold move. He sent a letter out to all American media, even us here at Newsmax. The subject line: it's time for the media to do more to scrutinize House Republicans' demonstrably false claims they're basing impeachment stunt on. Now, Ian Sams is painfully aware that this is not a stunt. He's painfully aware the President of the United States is a morbidly corrupt, lying, plagiarizing fraud. Everyone who's actually paying attention to the facts and what's being uncovered here knows these things because they've been so clearly proven. The media certainly knows this, but are fully invested in hiding these truths from you because they believe that Trump is too dangerous to be president. Today, Ian Sams sent out a reminder to the media that he thinks he controls, and likely does, at least the White House does, saying to them, remember your role here. It's the type of message that a dictator sends to its media. Had the last administration done something like this, your phone and television would have exploded with further evidence American fascism is taking over. Under Biden, though, it's simply just welcome advice. And most in the media have complied. Although this morning Ian Sams did go on CNN, where they mostly comply, but he was actually hit with a reasonably fair question in the wake of all of this evidence of Biden corruption. Ian Sams' answer was pretty amazing.
Why was the president at those meetings on those phone calls?
Well, again, I think this is part of the right wing's misinformation machine to try to confuse people about what the truth is. The truth is that the president, as he has said publicly for years, calls his family every day to check in. He calls his son every day to check in. He calls his other family members to check in to see how they're doing. He loves them. They're a tight-knit family. And what the GOP's own witness testified in this case is that that's exactly what the president was doing. He was checking in with Hunter during a particularly hard time, I might add, a time where the family was going through Hunter's brother Beau's illness.
Hunter's best friend Devin Archer says Joe Biden called into 24 of Hunter's business calls, at least 24, he said. Archer says the calls were meant to signal that Hunter had full access to his father's power. Ian Sams says Joe Biden was simply calling into more than 24 meetings of Hunter Biden and his corrupt business partners because Beau Biden had recently died. And yet again, we see the Biden team using Beau's death for political benefit. They do this all the time. This is who they are, apparently. Today's letter from Ian Sams came with manipulated examples to explain away the Republican case. It was terribly flimsy. Sams says the FBI 1023 form is totally unverified. He writes it off as nonsense. In reality, it's an allegation from the founder of Burisma saying he bribed Joe Biden with $5 million, an allegation that came to the FBI from a very trusted source. As far as it lacking verification, well, that's the point of the entire investigation into the Department of Justice, the other side of this whole corrupt cabal. Whistleblowers say the DOJ refused to investigate anything that led to Joe Biden. Remember, it's the same DOJ that told us that the laptop was a fake Russian tool. And here was another real shocker. In today's message to the media from the White House, Sams doesn't even acknowledge the WhatsApp message from Hunter to the Chinese communists demanding money, saying he's sitting there with his father. 9 days later, the Bidens got millions wired from China. Also, no mention today in this letter of the text where Hunter tells his daughter that his dad makes him give half his salary. No, they didn't want to talk about that one. That just is evidence it doesn't exist, as we all know. Ian Sams also completely ignores the testimony of Tony Bobulinski, Hunter's primary business partner in China, who once asked Jim Biden how they get away with this kind of corruption. Jim Biden, Joe's brother, laughs and says, plausible deniability. No, none of that. And as far as those shell accounts that concealed the money, Ian Sams, citing the Washington Post, Comer often suggests that the Biden family used these so-called shell companies to launder money. It is telling such companies served no legitimate function. But that claim is undercut by the list of 21 companies that appear in the second staff memo. Virtually all the companies, many of which are now defunct, had legitimate business interests. Now, remember, that comes from the Washington Post. And yes, those companies were so legitimate, as WAPO says, that they went out of business as soon as the Bidens got their millions of dollars. As WAPO said, many of them are now defunct. Oh, I thought they were so legitimate. Remember, with the Ukraine money, the Burisma owner said the Bidens created a web of accounts to launder the money that would take 10 years to figure out. Remember that? Well, as it stands right now, after a few years of investigating, it's been uncovered that filthy, dirty, corrupt, or communist money has gone to many members of the Biden family, 9 so far. The only thing at this point that is left missing is that link from these people to Joe Biden. That's the only thing missing. And they're all trying to tell you that there's nothing there. That's how ridiculous this is. Naturally, that link, actually giving the money to the corrupt politician, is the most dangerous part. That's where corrupt actors would be the most careful. That's where they'd really, really, really have to conceal what they're doing. And of course, that's going to be the toughest thing to find. But because this complex web has only been about 95% unwoven, Biden's disciples are pretending that all of this should just be written off. It's all just so ridiculous.
There are no charges against Joe Biden, and they want to impeach the guy. That's obviously coming from Donald Trump.
There's just no evidence. So this is all smoke and no fire.
The goal here is to flood the zone with to devalue impeachment by making sure that everybody is impeached.
It's not impeachment based on high crimes or misdemeanors or any evidence of such things. This is an essentially evidence-free impeachment. And it is purely politically motivated by McCarthy and Donald Trump.
Imagine taking these people seriously. Imagine watching those networks and thinking you're getting any information at all. You're just getting an agenda. That's it. It's very sad. And what a nasty world politics is. No shame, no honor, the dirtiest business we can find. We want you to know we invited White House spokesman Ian Sams onto our show tonight. We would have given him the entire hour if he needed it to explain away the mountain of evidence that his boss is so corrupt. We emailed the White House about 9 hours ago. Crickets coming from them. Nope, not a chance. And doesn't that tell the entire story? Doesn't that just speak volumes? Oh, they'll go on MSNBC. We're not going anywhere where they actually know what's happening, or they'll actually ask us about what's really happening. We're the media that won't comply with their demands to cover up for the president's corruption. It's as simple as that. Ian Sams, if you see any of this somehow, I know you probably don't watch Newsmax, by all means, please come on this show. I'd love for you to debunk all this. Last night, we gave credit to CBS for hiring Catherine Herridge, who has done some fairly good reporting on Biden corruption, and more so on the Department of Justice's efforts to conceal it and help install Joe Biden in the White House in 2020. CBS has a more conservative, older audience, at least a little more conservative than most, so it's in their interest to not get caught blatantly doing Joe Biden's bidding. But today, CBS again humiliated itself. Listen to the network's White House correspondent today, Nancy Cordes. We're going to play her set of questions to Karine Jean-Pierre. Now, this is a reporter whose network has confirmed the Hunter laptop is real. Now, they did it 2 years, 3 years after it came out, but they have confirmed it, at least at some point, meaning that this woman is fully aware of Hunter's messages to the Chinese while sitting with his father demanding money. She's aware Hunter messaged his daughter, aggravated that he had to give his dad half of his salary. This reporter knows all of this is true. She knows every bit of this is true. She is aware that the corruption allegations are real. Her network has confirmed it. She probably knows Catherine Herridge very well. Regardless, she lets Karine Jean-Pierre, as incapable as she is, walk all over her and basically get away with murder in this line of questioning. Take a look.
Does the White House view this impeachment inquiry as legitimate?
Republicans haven't made it pretty clear just how illegitimate this is. They've made that very clear.
Does that mean that the White House doesn't believe it needs to comply with requests that come as a result of this inquiry?
It's a political stunt, and it is going after the president politically, not about the truth. There's no truth here.
Has the president had an opportunity to speak with Speaker McCarthy about the looming shutdown and potential ways out of this?
That's it. Another example of the death of journalism. That was a moment for any real reporter to take a very lackluster, uninformed mouthpiece like Karine Jean-Pierre to school in a big way. That was a great moment. She had a great opportunity there. 10 years ago, establishment reporters would have seized on that moment for either a Republican or a Democrat president. 10 years ago, this would be the biggest story you had ever heard. A reporter in a moment like that would have made some serious headlines today instead of just letting the White House walk all over her because it fit her political agenda. Today, people like Nancy Cordes work just as much for our establishment government as they do for their traditional media outlets.